Welcome to Real Estate Meets AI. I'm Sandeep Ahuja, CEO and co-founder of Cove, the AI-first architecture practice. If you're curious about how AI is reshaping buildings and spaces from the inside out, you're in the right place. Here's what I love about venture capital folks in real estate. They're not just watching the future, they're literally writing checks on it. Today, I'm talking to Danny Klein from JLL Spark, who studied hundreds of AI startups in our industry. Danny, before we dive in, quick intro for folks who don't know you. You're a partner at JLL Spark, which is JLL's venture arm. You came from Verizon, where you were digitally transforming a 100 million square foot portfolio. Before that, you were in BC. And now you're at the intersection, bringing those two worlds together. Capital innovation and the world's biggest real estate platform. If anyone knows where the puck is going, it's Danny. So let's go. Danny, welcome to Real Estate Meets AI. So great to have you here.
Thank you. And I do appreciate the introduction about where the puck is heading. As a Canadian, and my favorite sport is hockey, I could certainly relate to that.
It's awesome. Okay, so you've been in this world long enough to see hype cycles come and go. So I'd love to kick it off with our AI meter. It's basically on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being AI averse and 5 being AI forward. Where is the real estate industry right now when it comes to AI?
Well, it's a good question. And if I could take that AI meter and maybe create 2 sub-meters, I think when it comes to interest in AI, I would say that's probably a 4 out of 5. Everybody is talking about AI, how AI could help them, why they should care about AI, and what steps they should take in order to move forward with some level of experimentation with artificial intelligence. However, if you kind of break that back in terms of where are we in actual experimentation and deployment of AI, I would probably say that's closer to a 3 of 5.
That's a really helpful take. And the first ever 2 sub-meters, and it really does make sense to break it down into both of those categories. So for everyone that's listening, here's what I heard. And then you can tell me if I'm reframing it totally inaccurately. We're all curious about it, and some of us are doing a decentish job implementing it in some places, give or take.
I think that's fair, yeah. I think, generally speaking, everyone's interested, and we're starting to see some pilots on AI, but not huge mass adoption of artificial intelligence quite yet.
Okay. Well, I would be curious, what's the most promising pilot that you have seen of AI? And it could be at JLL or outside, because clearly you're exposed to so many companies across the world. So tell us what you're seeing.
I think there's lots of different examples how AI can help support different parts of real estate, everything from the transactions business to project development and construction to, kind of helping to manage and operate buildings. And a good chunk of that has to do with automating repetitive, mundane tasks. But there's also ways of leveraging AI at the point of sale. So as an example, our leasing brokers are using a technology from a company called Cubic when they meet clients or prospects who are looking for office space with very specific parameters, right? So they have a criteria, they have a certain number of workstations they're looking for, they have a certain number of meeting rooms that they're looking for, and then they walk into a space and they have difficulty visualizing how that space could come to life and really meet their needs. So this technology is able to create automated test fits very quickly, so that when clients actually walk into that space, our leasing brokers could be equipped with 3D visualizations of what that space could actually look like, with their branding, with the right time of day and daylight, different perspectives with different windows. So it's a really powerful tool, and it helps accelerate the sales cycles. It helps accelerate our clients and prospects in terms of making decisions. But it also helps organically move the conversation even beyond just leasing into, okay, if we move forward with this particular building, then what, right? How can we then move into discussions around design and taking that to the next level? So it really kind of helps bridge different aspects of what, JLL is offering in terms of a service, but also helps support our clients and our prospects in terms of their journeys as well. In that context, AI could be a very powerful tool.
Yes, obviously, as an architect myself, and with our team building the world's first AI-powered architecture firm, I can actually visualize the benefits that you describe, especially point of sale. Because even when I think about our own practice, it really is across the board. Everything from did we hear the clients correctly, from transcribed conversations, making sure that we don't lose the design intent through the design cycle, to AI-powered zoning feasibility studies, to actual construction drawing. It's just so, so, so powerful. And I can really visualize it and weave it as you describe it through some of what you're seeing, which is incredible. Well, Danny, I would love to learn a little bit more about something that I've been hearing more and more about from the JLL AI team, the Falcon. What is that?
So JLL Falcon is the artificial intelligence solution for JLL. And it's a very powerful platform that is able to essentially take a lot of the AI engines out there and add a whole layer of contextual information based on real estate taxonomy, right? So we have a very specific purview and lens in terms of how we think about the world from a real estate perspective. That's a layer that Falcon is able to add on top of a lot of the AI engines to really provide very targeted results that could help our clients gain insight into their portfolios, that could help our clients get insight and information on how to optimize a lot of their initiatives as it relates to artificial intelligence.
That's really cool. I mean, just even imagining across the entire scale of JLL's portfolio to have that kind of insight layered in is, I would imagine, as a competitive edge for JLL compared to anyone else, but probably even just adding more value to the clients. That's incredible.
It is. And that's just one example in terms of what JLL is doing. But across the board, we are evaluating and trying to assess how can AI help us do things better, faster, cheaper, right? How can we automate some archaic processes that have been around as a services firm, but now with the advent of AI, we're able to optimize those processes to help accelerate the delivery of our services and be able to deliver our services in a much more efficient manner.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where the future is at. There's at least every day when I'll scroll through LinkedIn like we all do, where it'll be like, services are dying, verticalization is coming. And I couldn't agree more. It's definitely getting more and more integrated. I've seen in different verticals. I saw most obviously in accounting and legal originally, but it's really penetrating into our space now, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's irrespective of what vertical you are, it's going to make a big impact, right? Being able to automate repetitive tasks and be able to really start focusing on the core capabilities and the value add and the critical thinking and the strategic thinking and delivery in order to really support our clients moving forward. That's what AI could really help us do.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, okay. So obviously in your venture seat, your job is literally to spot what's next. So what do you think is the biggest opportunity in the next 12 to 18 months that most people are sleeping on?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with how do you take artificial intelligence and be able to action on it, right? It's not necessarily just generating information, but it's taking that next step and being able to help create those agents, help automate tasks, and provide some additional capabilities to humans so that we could focus on much more higher level delivering the intellectual impact to our clients while being able to offload a lot of the more repetitive, mundane day-to-day activities to some type of virtual employee, right? If we could call it that.
Totally. Give me one example. So it doesn't have to be something you've seen. Gosh, it could even be you dreaming out loud. Like, wouldn't it be great if a startup pitched to me that did XYZ?
Yeah, there's lots of different examples, but I'll give you one for in terms of an area that, I think could actually really help expedite the service delivery and reduce a lot of the manual work that's required in the background that probably a lot of our clients aren't even privy to, right? So being able to even understand the different types of equipment in a building, a lot of us kind of take for granted. We just assume that everyone knows that we have 4 HVAC systems and everyone knows that we have 3 chillers and we all know where they're located and what condition they're in. But the reality is we don't. Even the asset owners and to some degree, the facilities managers and property managers don't even know, especially if we are getting a new client, getting access to that information is very difficult. Sometimes, it requires a human to go and actually do an assessment a physical assessment of the building. And even then, we don't necessarily get all the information we want, right? So we need to be able to not only understand what HVAC systems are in the building, but what make are they? What model number are they? How old are they, right? And that'll help us put together these maintenance schedules and be able to help optimize the management of that particular asset, and then even be able to put together preventative maintenance schedules that could help create a much more optimized way of managing that asset and elongate the life of the asset on behalf of the client, and even conduct different assessments, right? Is this particular equipment, near end of life? Is it worthwhile thinking about replacing it versus repairing it? What factors and considerations should we take into account as part of that consideration? Oftentimes we have a lot of that information or data. It just takes a while to find it, and it takes a while to do the proper calculations. Now with AI, you could automate all of that. And you could literally take a picture of the faceplate of that asset, and based on that picture, it could automatically identify the make, the model number, the manufacturer, and then go out and actually pull in all the documentations from the web on that particular asset through the manuals, extract the right data, take the right information, populate it into our IWMS systems, and then start creating a lot of these scenarios to be able to help our clients then put together the schedules, understand which assets need to be replaced, and do a whole capital plan on their behalf. Right now, a lot of that is manual, but if we're able to get to a place where we could automate a lot of that, then we start focusing on that value aspect, right? Delivering the value to the client, as opposed to just trying to collect the data, which is more kind of a blocking and tackling issue.
Yeah, that is such a nuance. I love that example because it's so nuanced. It's not one that you would arrive at had you not been deeply involved with lots and lots and lots of buildings and maintaining them. This reminds me of a story. It's many lives ago, long before I was a founder myself, but I was on a site visit for this historic building with some folks from Walter P. Moore. They do facade consulting. They had a facade consulting team here in Atlanta. Now, I truly cannot remember why I was on the site visit with them. I was probably doing a project with them. Can't remember. But either way, what does stay with me, because it's almost 15 years ago now, is as we were doing the site visit, we found a part of the facade that had no insulation. And we're looking at the drawings that were published by the architects. We're like, certainly shows insulation. And we're looking at the actual building. We're like, well, no insulation is to be seen. And even for stuff like that, I would imagine, if I was to dream with you a little bit, Danny, that maybe there's like some kind of a drone that can record it, and then, some kind of understanding of this information that can get translated out in addition to all the actual system information. So I'm not going to use the word digital twin because it's overused. So we can create some replica of the actual what's happening in the building to allow folks to have so much more intelligence. Now, that would be so cool.
That would be so cool. And it's not too far off. In fact, there are some rudimentary solutions that are out there that are actually capturing some of that using infrared and LiDAR and being able to capture the heat source and understand how much heat is being emitted from the facade of the building, identify potential cracks, what needs to be repaired, all of that just using a drone. Right? So you have a drone mounted with specific sensors, and it's able to capture that data. And then using artificial intelligence on the back end, it's able to, start taking the information that's captured from the drone and the sensors and the cameras and start applying some logic towards it and identifying areas for improvement.
Yes, actually, I've seen some of that myself. There was a startup out of Georgia Tech that I advised on that did just that. It was like folks from MIT and Georgia Tech. Like, it was all the academics kind of coming together. Early stuff is definitely starting to be out there. So that's super exciting to me. Obviously, having only built companies in the whole software realm, anytime there's any physical things, any hardware, anything physically involved, I get really curious because I'm like, I've never built that, but that always seems harder just because I feel like I have figured out software somewhat. And now AI, the computers, I got it. Physical stuff, that seems hard.
Well, the next big thing right now is, what people are calling physical AI or robotics is part of that, right? And there's a tremendous amount of interest in robotics and how can robots help, especially in the built environment.
Yes,
And
yes,
we've
yes.
seen some of the older generation of robots in the hotels and, airports and shopping malls, just kind of cleaning and sanitizing the floors and things. But now with the advent of AI, they're so much smarter in terms of object and collision detection and understanding their patrol missions and things along those lines. You could do so much more with robotics and physical AI in general. It's really interesting. And I'm curious to see where that's going to go in 2026.
I agree. I couldn't believe it when I saw for the first time. So obviously now there's like Waymos everywhere. Like I'm here in Atlanta. Like, so every time my 3-year-old watches a Waymo, she goes, robot car, which is fine. And obviously there's food delivery everywhere, right? Every time she sees one of those little robots with the googly eyes, she wants to go give it a hug. The other day we were at Lowe's and there was another robot and she goes, robot, robot. I was like, I've not seen a robot at Lowe's before. And then I turned around. It was one that was basically looking at what the inventory was, which is
Yeah.
incredible. And going back to a movie I watched many years ago, I think I was in middle school when it came out, I, Robot,
Yeah.
which is basically I don't know if you've seen that movie and you're
A
nodding. I
long
think
time
you
ago.
have. Actually, wouldn't be shocked if that was, I mean, not the very dark ending to that movie, but the
Hopefully not.
actual robot. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened as early as 2027. I don't think that we're too far away because all the figure videos I keep watching, I mean, we're making pretty significant progress.
We are. And it's an exciting area to watch. If we go back to that meter that you mentioned, right, at the beginning of the call, we've been seeing a tremendous amount of interest around robotics. And a lot of our clients are trying to figure out how can robotics help. But I think in terms of adoption of the technology, it's further back than AI is, right? So in terms of where they are, in terms of actually purchasing a robot, deploying the robot, trialing the capabilities of the robot, that's still in its nascent phases.
That makes sense. So, just for a moment, if I told you to take off your JLL hat and just tell me Danny Klein, the human person, what do you think? Do you think I'm being too optimistic that their iRobot type things are going to be out there in 2027? Is that too soon? Am I being crazy?
I think they'll be there in 2027. I don't think they're going to be
Like,
ubiquitous in
you won't want to bring it to
2027.
your home, is what you're saying?
I mean, if I think they're going to be costly, but if you could afford and you wanted to, purchase a humanoid robot for your house, I think it's a type of thing that you'll probably ask the humanoid robot to get you like a glass of wine while you're watching TV, and it will take the robot 20 minutes to come back with that glass of wine. So I think it'll do it. I think, it's getting there, but the intricacies behind it and the speed behind it in order to actually execute on the thousands of different micro actions that need to, be taken in order to actually come up with that end result, it's going to be slow
Yes,
at
yes,
first.
yes. That is a very informed answer. Thank you for that. Now, I am curious. So, obviously, you painted me a vision of wouldn't it be great if startups figured this out? Inversely, what's the one thing that you keep getting pitched and you're like, this is never going to fly in real estate? Maybe stop doing that. Perhaps you don't quite say it in those words, but what is that type of thing that you've seen that is just not going to fly in real estate?
It's a good question. So we get pitched often on the concept around sustainability and energy optimization and management. The idea behind energy management and optimization for sustainability purposes makes a lot of sense. A lot of our clients are asking for that. They want to get a better understanding of what their sustainability footprint is. Some of them have some stated net zero goals that they have to meet in a certain timeline. But with that being said, a lot of those solutions are very similar to one another. There's not a lot of differentiation. I think it's a very difficult venture-backed business. And what we are hearing from our teams is, yes, our clients are asking for it, but no, they're not willing to pay for it. So we're kind of at that level and that state in terms of adoption. If that were to change, I think our mindset would probably change as well. But I think for the time being, the idea is great. Just the value proposition ROI for the solution itself just isn't there yet.
That makes so much sense. And I don't know if you know this, but my last company, we sold sustainability software and optimization, and we became the biggest in what we do. But that was the very, very hard lesson that we had to learn that there was a cap to how big the market truly was. And I was like, Either you know this, or if you don't know this, yes, I agree. I know this personally almost too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And, years ago, that area to some degree was known as green tech, right? And that also was incredibly hyped. The concept of green tech made a lot of sense. There was a whole industry and sector around venture capital focused on green technologies. And we just didn't really see a whole lot of exits. We didn't really see a whole lot of traction in terms of the adoption of that technology. And now we're seeing that kind of a new iteration of green tech in sustainability. And I think it's heading in the same direction. To your point, the TAM is a little small. It's a difficult value proposition for end users because I think ultimately it's a nice to have, but not an area where many companies or clients are looking to prioritize their budgets to be able to pay for that technology. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
where the challenge lies.
Yeah, I mean, from our own experience, obviously, like let's say in the last 6 months, I've had at least over 100 conversations with different developers that are building different things actively. If someone was to ask me, well, how many conversations did you talk about sustainability or emissions? That number looks kind of like this, which is a
Yeah.
zero, a big fat zero. And you know, you gotta live in the world, you gotta live it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I have a few rapid fire kind of questions. They're designed to get past the buzzwords. I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit. I feel like I've gotten to understand the tech type things that you're excited about. But this is more personal, just to get to know you, Danny, a little bit better.
Shoot.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Okay, spreadsheets or slide deck?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I'll go with slide decks. Although I love my
Okay.
spreadsheets. I do love my spreadsheets.
All right, we'll call it we'll call it a tie for that particular one. AI tool you use most in a day?
JLL has our own internal, as we talked about, GPT. So I use our JLL GPT throughout the day, every day.
Okay, JLL GPT. And lastly, what's the most overused word in prop tech?
Prop tech.
Oh, I love that is certainly overused.
And the second one, if I could throw one more in there, single pane of glass view.
Single pane and glass view. Okay. All right. Is there some context to that one? I have not heard that one quite as much clearly as
No?
you.
Well, it's the concept is if you have data from all of these different sources and you're trying to make a decision on that data and you have to go through 3 or 4 different dashboards to be able to come up with a decision, having a single pane of glass view into all of these data sets to make that decision is a very powerful concept. The concept I love, the terminology has become overused.
Well, thank you for breaking it down for our audiences. Love that one. Y'all, stop using it. Come on. Don't, when you talk to Danny, stop using those words. Last thing, you're talking to real estate professionals every day who are trying to figure out how to navigate this moment. Some are excited. I've definitely met the excited ones. Some are terrified. I've certainly met those too. And most are somewhere in between. What's the one piece of advice that you'd give someone in real estate who's trying to navigate change right now?
Well, at least when it requires change within AI, get the data house in order. Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. I think that's critical. We have a whole area that's starting to focus a little bit more on what we call the OT layer, not the IT layer, right? And being able to really get a good understanding of what types of digital assets are in a building to be able to identify them, be able to identify potential cybersecurity risks, be able to identify different vulnerabilities. Right now, a lot of that is a kind of a hole, is kind of a gap. So that whole area is probably an area I would focus on. And that would be my advice.
That's incredible. That's great advice. And one that we keep come up like in different forms with each guest. We hear some different version of it, but it's the version of like, yes, AI can be super helpful, but what are your inputs? What's your data? How are you managing it? How are you structuring it? I've heard that advice in so many different forms or fashion. Everyone's like, I love AI, but use it wisely. So here you have it, folks. Love AI, but use it wisely. Use it with good data. This has been so much fun, Danny. Thank you for keeping it real. Thank you for giving us your honest takes. I enjoyed it all with
Yes.
this nice fake glass of Cabernet.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Sandeep, thank you. It was a pleasure. Appreciate the opportunity. This was a ton of fun. And thank your audience for spending the past half hour listening to us. So thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Real Estate Meets AI podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform and follow us on social media at cove.inc. Until next time, I'm Sandeep Ahuja.